Good morning. There's been a lot said already this generation about Xbox versus PlayStation, and the fanboys have been out in force making their case, such as it is. The most interesting thing I've seen so far, though, is from Paul Tassi in an article he wrote for Forbes, and this is what he says. The math behind Xbox Game Pass versus $70 Sony games will snowball quickly. And from a personal perspective, I have to say I agree with him because, well, I've been looking at the price of games and they're expensive. You know, $70 for a game is a lot of money, and it translates in the UK now to £70. So we've had a double price hike, it seems. But what Paul Tassi's talking about here is when you actually start breaking down the cost of Game Pass versus the price of these games. And it's very interesting what he has to say when you start looking at the actual figures. He says here at the beginning, if you were drinking every time you saw a game was coming day one to Game Pass at the Xbox show yesterday, you would have been under the table by the end. And that's a really good point, because of the 30 games they showed, as I said this in my previous video, of the 30 games they showed, 27 were coming to Game Pass. And that's a lot of games coming to Game Pass. Some of those games, many of those games, especially first-party games, are coming day one to Game Pass. And we're seeing increasingly now that third-party games are starting to come day one to Game Pass. And that's a big deal because, as he says at the beginning here, you're talking about Game Pass, which is a, £15 a month or £10 a month subscription versus $70. And every time a game drops on Game Pass, that's $70 you don't have to spend on PlayStation or even on Xbox, because, you know, these games are expensive on Xbox as well. But you can also have Game Pass. And that's not the case with PlayStation now. But anyway, we'll get into that in a minute. As he says here, it's clear that Microsoft is slamming the accelerator on Game Pass with or without a console attached to it. And they're going to try and not just have a large roster of old games, but continue the idea that every new first-party game debuts there. And now that includes all future Bethesda games too, after the recent acquisition, and, as I said, increasingly more third-party games. Sony, meanwhile, has taken the opposite path. And he talks about how, you know, they're sticking with the idea of generations and all the rest of it. And, you know, Sony have come out and said we believe in generations, although most of their games so far have been cross-generation, and they kind of backtracked on that. Some people said they were lying. I'm not entirely sure that they were lying about that. I think some of it was just the market and the fact that they can't get enough PlayStation 5s out, and they've still got this huge install base for the PlayStation 4. And if a game will play on the PlayStation 4, why not put it out? I mean, you know, put yourself in their shoes. If I was in Sony's shoes and I had a game that would run on the PlayStation 4, at the moment, I'd put it out on the PlayStation 4. Obviously, that's not the case with Ratchet & Clank, but Ratchet & Clank, as he says here, Ratchet & Clank, I just winced when I went to buy Ratchet & Clank and remembered it was $70. And I actually tweeted yesterday, I'm sorry, but I'm not paying $70 for it. I'll wait until there's a sale. I'll buy it cheaper. You know, I might pick it up secondhand, something like that. But it is expensive. Whereas when Halo comes out, well, I've got Game Pass. It'll be there. I can pre-install it and play as soon as it's ready to play. So it's a very different proposition. And he goes on here. He says, once you start really digging into the math, the longer this goes on, the more games are released for both systems. Maintaining a roster on PlayStation 5 is going to be very, very expensive compared to Xbox. And he drills down into this considerably. All those games are coming to Xbox Game Pass, so you will be paying, let's just highlight that. So you will be paying $10 a month, barring any special deals for 12 months, times 3 years. So 360. In the meantime, assuming all those Sony games are $70 each, you are instead paying $840. Oh, well, that's a big difference in price. And okay, look, you know, you will see sales and stuff. But if you're a family and you're looking at having consoles for your kids and stuff, Game Pass will look increasingly attractive next to Sony's $70 for each game. It becomes more and more untenable when you look at PlayStation versus the Xbox as a value proposition. And then you start adding in things like, with the Xbox, you can play on your phone and you can probably soon play on TVs and all over the place. It makes it very attractive compared to PlayStation, both in terms of convenience, because you can play anywhere and carry on with the same saves, and price. He says here, and the longer this goes on, the wider it gets. Simply double that. $720 for Game Pass for 6 years of games, and then $24.70 PlayStation 5 games, and that's $1,680. And I haven't checked his figures, but I'm pretty certain they're pretty close, if not spot on. A gap of almost $1,000 over the course of most of the console generation. I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, I will pick up PlayStation games, but I'm not going to be buying as many PlayStation games as all that. I mean, $70 even for me. I mean, we're not badly off here, but $70 is not small change, is it? And then he goes on to say, Sony has mentioned they're going to be doing things to make its own subscriptions, PlayStation Now, PlayStation Plus, more attractive. But that hasn't borne fruit yet. And the ultimate move, and this is where it gets interesting, rolling up new releases into being included with a subscription seems unlikely to happen, as Sony has spoken out about that specifically in the past. Yeah, they have. And personally, I think in the medium to long term, certainly in the long term, they're going to backtrack on that one as well. I think they're going to have to. I think they're going to have to start bringing at least some games to PlayStation Now day one. I think that's going to have to happen. And I saw somebody the other day in my comments mention that they didn't think that was possible or financially tenable for Sony to do that. But I personally think that it's not tenable for them not to do that in the long term, because they're going to get left behind. They might sell a few games on PlayStation, but if all the games, or certainly a large proportion of the third-party games, are going to Game Pass, and that hasn't happened yet, but it's likely to, you're going to get an Xbox and Game Pass. Or a PC and Game Pass, for that matter. Why would you get a PlayStation? Okay, look, the hardcore gamers out there, people who would buy a PlayStation whatever. I used to joke that for fanboys of whatever system it was, the CEO could come on the stage, do a huge dump and label it a PlayStation or an Xbox, and the fanboys would buy it. But for everybody else, they've got limited resources and they're looking at the value option. Especially, like I say, if you've got kids. And the value option at the moment is Game Pass. It's just the way it is. It's Game Pass. And that will continue, as Paul Tassi says here. He says, yes, Game Pass was present last generation, but the difference now is Sony's price hike and Microsoft's newfound roster of first-party games that will be arriving this generation. And things are going to get interesting as a result. And yeah, absolutely they're going to get interesting as a result. And I think Sony will do fine in terms of console sales, and they'll sell their first-party games. But in terms of the future, they could be in danger of being left behind, because the market's changed. It's not changing, it's changed. With digital games and services and mobile gaming as well. And Microsoft have already moved into mobile gaming with allowing Game Pass on your phone through streaming. So yeah, I personally think Sony need to pull their finger out. And it'd be interesting to see what they do, because there are a lot of rumours going around that they're going to be showing us something towards the end of this month, maybe next month. I expect to see something. And I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a few changes in terms of what they offer for PlayStation Now. And I really, really hope that they do make an effort with PlayStation Now. Because PlayStation Now, I said this, I think on my Discord the other day, PlayStation Now as it stands is a sleeping giant. It has huge potential, but Sony just aren't tapping into that potential. They could actually have a service that's better than Game Pass. But whether they've got the financial clout to do that, or more importantly, whether they've got the will to do it, because I think they could do it financially. If they were prepared to put the effort in, they could do it. I don't think it's beyond the pale for Sony. Sony are still a big company. They're not as big as Microsoft, but they're still a big company. It comes down to will for me. Do they want to do this? Are they going to have to be dragged screaming and kicking to do it like they have been with crossplay, and they're still resistant to that? At the moment, as it stands, PlayStation Now, it's kind of dead. But it has huge potential, as I keep saying. And I would like to see them do more with it. But anyway, that's what I have to say. I mean, the one more thing I will add is, for me, the final thing for Xbox and Game Pass will be if they, and there's an article here, I'll just flick over to the article from Jeff Grubb. If they add this, Xbox Game Pass for families and households, where is the family plan? In this article, and I might do a video about this, I don't know. If you're interested, let me know in the comments. He talks about the fact that, it would be really handy to have a family plan for Game Pass. And I've long been calling for a family plan for Game Pass. And in this article, Jeff Grubb says that... actually, no, sorry, this is Jez Corden. I apologise. This is Jez Corden. In this article, Jez Corden says that we need this. We need Game Pass for families and households, but that maybe some of the third-party publishers are resistant to it. And I find that interesting because if you go into Apple or you go into Google and you go to the Play Store, usually you download a game and you've got access to it for, I think, like 5 systems with 5 different people. So it's not beyond the pale. It's quite possible. And I don't see why third parties would balk at this. They're going to be looking at their bottom line. But ultimately, as Game Pass grows, I think they're going to look at their bottom line and think, okay, this actually is not a bad idea. And offering a family plan, and he said it in the article here. Jez Corden says, with a family plan, you're getting in the younger generation, and that's what you need. You need to get kids in and be interested and invested in that ecosystem, and a Game Pass for families would really offer that, because at the moment it's a pain in the arse trying to use Game Pass with multiple consoles and multiple accounts. Excuse me. But anyway, look, that's all I wanted to say. I think the final thing for me is that family plan. If we get that with Game Pass and xCloud and all the rest of it, that's it then. I think Microsoft have pretty much sewn it up. And someone's going to have to come along and do something pretty special to usurp them, if you like. But anyway, as I say, I'm done. I'm going to go and grab a cup of tea, and I will speak to you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all the rest of it. And I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.